Hey, it's Zadie! Welcome to Flytte Kartina, and there is a new movie on the horizon. I went to go see Murder on the Orient Express. The movie had its moments, but right now let's focus on what the schedule has to say. The first half of the video is totally and completely spoiler-free! Basically, I'll give you guys a grasp of what the rating really means, and then we'll trick down to whether or not I'd recommend this movie. I'll add a little bit of my own twists and turns here and there, but basically that's the first half. The second half is amazingly full of spoilers. You don't want to miss me freaking out about murder and trades, two of my most favorite topics. Alright, let's highball it down to the non-spoiler portion of this video. The Motion Picture Association of America rated Murder on the Orient Express PG-13 for violence and thematic elements. Okay, the title of both the book and the movie has the word murder in it. Gee, I wonder why they put violence in the rating description. Anyways, violence is not the main thing of this movie. What I mean by that is there are 3 scenes which I would consider violent, and those aren't even the worst scenes that I've seen in a PG-13 movie. There is one really long scene, about 40-ish seconds, where a character gets stabbed in the chest multiple times. The shot is designed so you only see the person stabbing the character, so there's not a lot of blood spurting out from an open wound. There is a scene with the character's dead body lying in full view for the audience to see. There are stab wounds and dried blood, but it's nothing gory. It's the imagination that the director is going for in the shot. The most fresh blood I saw was when someone got shot, and it wasn't even that much. Thank you for that, Kenneth Branagh. Moving on to the thematic elements. Remember my video way back when I first started out this channel? Well, in my Hidden Figures review, I gave a definition for thematic elements. Thematic elements are elements that are associated with the movie that may or may not be ethical in this day and age. That was a thing that was pretty specific to Hidden Figures, but it still applies right now to this film. The thematic elements in this had to do with race, since there is one African American character. There's always alcohol somewhere in this film because that's just the culture and the timeline of the Orient Express. So if alcohol and mild violence are the worst things in this film, I think this shouldn't be a very strong PG-13 movie. So that was a lot of stuff for a small non-spoiler portion. So let's summarize the whole thing with my amazing frequency chart. On a scale of 1 to 10, how frequent were the elements of the PG-13 description? That sounded a lot better in my head. I'd say the violence and thematic elements on the frequency chart would be a 3. There wasn't that many scenes in the film that were overly PG-13, so I'd rate it a soft PG-13. But wait, there's more! Let's not derail and forget about my magical scale of movies! The 8th notch for this first half. This is the part where I rate a movie on a scale of Steamboat Willie to Deadpool. The criteria is mostly tailored towards kids' standards because adult standards are way too complicated. So, Murder on the Orient Express on the scale, judging purely by the MPAA rating and my viewing of it, would be rated El Dorado. That's a 4 on the scale if you couldn't tell. This is a film that I know is not the worst for kids, but I still think there is some bad stuff inside of it that they should not watch. To each his own. That wraps up the first stop for today. The non-spoiler portion is over, so if you want to keep watching and have me spoil the movie for you, be my guest and stay. But before I install a coupler for this video, I want to say hello to all the new subscribers who made it past my painfully angsty self. Good job for you. Anyways, have a great random Thursday. Spoiler rant time! Honestly, this is my favorite part of the day. I get to talk about movies and no one can stop me. I would have done an evil laugh, but that would have been painful for everyone. Moving on to the actual track of this video. Murder on the Orient Express. A beautifully built train houses 13 total strangers. At least, that's what we're supposed to think. Agatha Christie wrote the book first, so go read that before you watch the movie if you want. That's even worse than watching my spoiler rant. One of those strangers is a detective better than Sherlock Holmes who is actively trying to solve a murder case, obviously, before the train reaches its destination. Who knows what this guy has to do in order to solve this new, or isn't new, case?
You know, there is something about that tangle of strangers, pressed together for days with nothing in common but the need to go from one place to another and never see each other again.
Wow, that was a lot. On to the actors. There were a lot of big name actors and actresses in this film. I was surprised at how many I recognized. I'm really bad at naming faces. I won't go over all their names because that takes up most of my allotted time and not very spoiler-esque. Hey look, we're right on schedule. Focus on stuff that I dislike before I get to the like part of this video. I hate ending on negative notes, so let's leave the positive stuff for last. One thing that annoyed me a little was Hercule's mustache. In the beginning of the film, I felt like it was a really obvious way of saying that he was the main character. But over time, I got over it because Kenneth Branagh can seriously pull off that kind of stash. Okay, I get that there has to be some kind of advertising, but seriously, Godiva, that was a really obvious marketing placement choice. It was probably as bad as the Folgers coffee in a Hallmark movie. Another thing that kind of annoyed me, but this is just personal, that they killed Johnny Depp. Honestly, the guy's been killed or driven mad enough times. I understand the character, really, I do, but I think it'd be cool to see him as a suspect rather than the victim. But that's just a super small detail that I don't really care that much about. I have a seriously short list of things that I disliked about this video. The last thing I did not like that much was the ending. I felt like it was a cop-out, like Agatha Christie just felt the need to make everyone the bad guy, because there are no good guys in the world. I would have loved to pinpoint it on one specific person, but that's just the way that the tracks were set. Positivity time, let's go! Okay, this is a longer list and I had to narrow it down significantly. Sit back and relax, because this is going to be a great ride. First of all, the soundtrack is amazing. Good job, Patrick Doyle. I really felt the intensity in every single note, and there's my music geek coming out. Let's move on. Also, the introduction of all 13 characters was amazing. 13 characters is like a come at me bro sort of thing for a director to do. I don't know if you guys realize how hard it is to juggle 13 characters. There's no way I could have done it. Kenneth Branagh also kept them totally balanced. Not in screen time, but in story time. The context of the story kept my mind on each of them and gave every one of them the balance that they needed. A true masterpiece. Cinematography! This was also the greatest thing that I've ever seen. In a train setting, finding different angles that aren't standard angles is extremely hard. Older trains aren't built for awesome wide shots of a hull or anything like that. There were shots from an aerial perspective that were amazing and dizzying at first. I got used to the aerial shots, but still, they were incredible to watch. The landscape was the best thing ever. Snow is really hard to shoot in, mostly because the whiteness doesn't actually provide any depth for anything. I have mad respect for Kenneth Branagh and his team. What would you think if some director told you, hey, we're gonna mount a camera that shoots through the roof? I can't believe the director and the main character are the same person. Seriously, that's incredibly incredible. Costumes were absolutely phenomenal, that's pretty much it. I have to give Agatha Christie credit for the plot of the book, but Kenneth Branagh executed it extremely well. It wasn't like the regular detective stuff where you can literally tell which person did the crime, or one of those detective things where they totally hide everything from you until the very end, and you're like, come on, how are we supposed to see all that? I have pretty much no complaints about this film. The negative stuff I said in the beginning was just me and me alone. When I watched this, I wasn't looking to see if anything was wrong. I was watching it to just watch it. I was genuinely enjoying it. Amazing work there, guys. Applause to you. Alrighty, question of the week. Which backstory did you think was the most interesting? I think the Doctor's was the most interesting out of all of them, besides Hercules. That's the end of this week's video. Stay tuned for more exciting stuff. Thanksgiving is coming up for some of us, so happy Thanksgiving in advance. For everyone else, happy Random Thursday. Bye!